So the time deadline is up for the proposals?
Yes.
Okay.
Can we have a little history just on the relationship between the master plan and the civic center?
Sure, let me see, to the extent that I can do that, I'll be happy to. Previously, there was separate proposals to redo the town center, which includes basically the police facilities with the administrative facilities, and including what's called the permit center, which is the modular building across the street, not including the corporation yard, which is a little further down. Those facilities are much newer and are considered more than adequate for their current use. The council asked for a design competition, which allowed architects to submit some proposals to look at just that part of the town center. I believe it was 4 firms that submitted, and then they were narrowed down to 2, and then you focused on 1 firm, which did a little bit more work on some massing, on some site analysis, but just for the town center process. Did not include the library, because at that time, the library was proposed to be constructed in the park. My understanding is once the issue of where the library would be sited was brought forward and put on the agenda, all work stopped on the town center.
Just to clarify,
please jump in.
when the library went on the ballot, the council decided to put the library issue on the ballot, and that was in the June council meeting. Council also decided to put the town center project on the ballot as a measure of whether or not it would be funded primarily by private donations. So that essentially stopped everything, and otherwise there had been plans from the Town Center Task Force to do public outreach processes all in 2012, and that just got stopped. So kind of having to start over from square one here.
And there had been no effort on a master plan of any kind or shape.
And the townspeople, many residents spoke up and spoke out, saying that they wanted to have council choose to do a master plan before choosing to put the library in the park. And so that's the whole political upheaval last year.
Master plan being the whole comprehensive.
Right, which is what we're doing now. So we've kind of gone back in time a year and a half. It was October 2011 when the residents said, don't make that decision, do a master plan first. And so here we are today with this wonderful committee to move forward. And so we have 5 proposals, 5 master plan proposals. Gordon has looked through them all. They're all in front of you. How do we want to choose which
Before we choose,
firms-
what's the
which
scope?
firms to
Yeah,
What are they doing? They're site planners, master planning, they're architecture, what are we?
Okay, so what we should probably have given you is the RFP that went out, that, that council approved, the request for proposals which went out.
Right.
I've got a copy of it.
Which is on the website.
Can I ask a favor? Because everything we say is on the website, it means 9 people have to go
Okay,
search through that damn thing and find it. Can we get a list of, you're the resource materials?
Yes.
They're on the website, and if you want us to print them for you, will, and otherwise, here's your link, because otherwise it's kind of hunt,
Sure.
search, and where is it, and.
for these, it's much easier, but yes, I
Okay.
can do that.
At least it's
On the first page, on the opening homepage of the town's website, kind of right in the center column, sort of toward the lower part, there's a heading saying, I think it's like solicitations of RFPs and bids. So the town puts anything it's looking to purchase on that, under that heading.
But for this committee,
Sure.
let me just say that I'll be responsible for pulling together this
Thank you.
pertinent information that I think these committee members would like to have. Gordon has reviewed all of these 5. He has, from his experience, culled it down to 3, and we could, go on his recommendation and bring those 3 in for interviews. We could form an ad hoc committee of 3 of our members to be the review selection team to make that decision. Or if we all want to be involved, we could all, read it. We need to then create a matrix of evaluation, how we're going to evaluate these consultants. Phil?
What's the timing on this? Is this for the council meeting in May?
It would be really helpful, I think, if we could make a recommendation and be able to get it to council by May 15th.
That means you need to have it by May 7th.
That's pretty quick.
That's just.
That's a meeting.
We can't read
You
through them
guys-
and
you
figure out
guys
who to
passed the
interview.
test.
Actually,
Get them to interview.
Madam Chair, if I may,
This is the most important decision we're gonna make, almost.
in the request for proposal, the information that went out to the consultants and the schedule that I believe the council got said it would be a decision to the council in the June meeting.
Oh, then we
So-
got time. That's good.
That's doable.
Much
Yeah.
better.
Well, I'm curious, George, you pulled it down to 3 candidates out of 5. What was the basis of your?
In the RFP, there are, the RFP listed criteria and a weighting of that information, which is what I used in doing the evaluation. But it's really, I think the chair is suggesting you need to make the decision of how you're gonna make the decision. I'm here as staff, I'm here to work for you.
Yeah, so that's what this committee, here we are, this is kind of one of our,
Since I think this is, as she said, one of the biggest decisions we'll make, I think, let's suggest that we all read all 5 and we come back and we have the matrix. We can each fill out a matrix for each one of the applicants and come back and discuss what we've got on our matrix and then figure out from there who we're gonna interview.
okay?
And it might also, for a future meeting, since it's not on the agenda, we might just talk about a process for this committee. Like, what are the steps we see that we're taking, and over time, how do we move through them?
It's not on today's agenda.
So,
Not on the agenda, can't talk about it today, but we could consider that for a future agenda.
Well, just for clarification, so these 5 proposals are really for the town center being the police and administrative services,
Well, actually,
is that
It's for
right?
the
The whole
master
building.
plan.
That's like all buildings.
Oh, so it includes the library,
All
includes the
properties.
whole property?
Right.
Yes, correct.
Okay, I didn't understand.
Yeah.
Okay.
But for me, not even being involved in this before, is it possible just to have like a 2-minute run through of what that RFP?
Yes, I'd be happy to do so. The request for proposal gave some background information on the town, a little bit on demographics, socioeconomics, history. Then it described what facilities are generally to be included, which includes the police department, which has the largest number of employees of any of the town departments, also the administration and functions. It includes the city council activities, and it did indicate that preliminarily, or maybe not preliminarily, but the council has said they want to retain this building. That doesn't mean there can't be some interior renovations or whatever. The building is not, the building is historic, 1924 era. It would also include the library, doesn't have to be in its current site. It includes the park and open space grounds, and we said it includes parking. The station is not currently used during weekdays, but it is used on weekends. You may notice a lot of vehicles parked here if you come by during the day in order to reduce the impact on neighborhoods. We've asked contractors to have their employees bring their extra vehicles here and carpool, so that's another use on the site. So we described those activities and gave some general parameters on the employees and the program information that is available as you have it on the website. And then said, we want you to come and bring your creativity to give us a master plan in terms of what should go on the site, where it should go on the site. It also included some community meeting space and several other factors that were included. One was to try and, insofar as feasible, use the opportunity of the master plan to possibly shield the site from the impacts of the rail activity, and also to consider and mitigate any adverse impacts on the surrounding residences.
That's a good summary, very good. Was that good?
Very good.
Councilmember Dottie and I worked with Gordon and staff in helping, structure this RFP. Council approved it, it went out April, May, March?
Right
March
after,
23rd.
like the day after the council meeting.
Right, yeah. And then you received these proposals. So, so it would be helpful. So what I think we should do, we're a big committee, if we all want to review these with the RFP in hand, using a matrix, I guess we have weighted. Do you have a copy
I
of
do.
that, Andy? Yeah.
Gordon, just before while you're doing that, I just wanted to make sure everybody understands. This is maybe a historic building, but it's not on the historic register. And therefore, we are relatively free to do whatever we want to do the site.
Thank you.
Right.
Thank you, that's absolutely right, Councilmember Dottie.
All depending
However,
on
it
what
does,
it is.
style or whatever. So this matrix, this weighting system is part of the RFP, and this is how you kind of mentally graded your top three.
Correct.
But I think that, has been said, this is a very important process, and it would be helpful to all the committee members to have an opportunity to read through these, maybe you can give that,
Okay, I have a question.
yes.
Are we expecting graphic presentations
I think
this
they're in
March? Are they in here?
Well, that's what they're in here?
And then I would expect that after we ask 3 of them to come back or something, I would expect it now.
What was asked of them was to put in at least, put in several examples of their graphics that they have used for other master plans.
Okay.
Right, it's not specific to this site, that would have been, I
Okay.
thought, presumptuous, but it was to give you an idea of how do they convey information.
And how did you weight that? Does high, medium, and low, do they have numeric weighting? So like you can actually make this a numeric?
You could make it a
Sounds like
numeric one. When I've done this in the past, because it gets, you're all unique individuals, what you may give a 7 to, you may give a 5 to. So I've just used kind of the, Consumer Reports, smiley face and a frown.
But I mean, if
So
we're gonna
high, medium,
aggregate
low.
these across 9 people,
Yeah.
do you wanna say high is 3, medium's 2, and low's 1, and then you can
Essentially,
actually make
yes,
it?
and then,
Because we could agree on a matrix today,
yes,
so that you don't have to have another meeting to agree on a matrix.
Good.
right, or maybe it might be, since it's 10% or 20, high might be, the first one might be 10 points, medium might be, 6, and low might be 2. So, but it certainly should be consistent across.
But
All
I
of
think that
you.
when we've all read those, some people may decide that, there's one company that for one area, even though it may only be rated at 10%, that is superior to the other company. And therefore, while I agree with this as kind of a guide, I don't think we should get this into a mathematical equation, but I think it's got a lot of information in these that we're going to read.
I thought,
General feeling.
Jim, I thought we revised last time we did this, that because it's all part of the public record and there's a choice involved, that the more specific that we can make it, we just also heard that from the attorney that was here. The more specific we can make it, the least blowback there could be from a
No,
firm
I
saying,
understand.
oh, why did you pick that person, and, you didn't make it specific.
But clearly, the council is also free to select any one of those.
We just, Elizabeth, Rose, Dee Dee, and I just lived with Phil for so long. He drilled it into us so deep.
It's stuck, huh?
Oh, it's not, because we wanted to be more subjective, and Phil just was not going. Yeah.
I don't know if we want to assign Phil that project to create something for us based on what was in the RFP. I mean, we can't grade these any other way than what is in the RFP.
I think the only issue is if you want to put numeric values on H, M, and L, because this is what he said.
If
Yeah, the other things are-
the HM&L is only a suggestion, but you're absolutely right. The criteria were all given to the consultants.
Yeah, so these percentages you
That's-
can't change.
them.
No,
So the only question is, what's the rating scale? You're gonna tell us to use 1 to 5, or H, you know,
Can
what
I
is
make a
it?
suggestion
City
perhaps?
manager?
Yes.
Since Phil does have a lot of expertise in doing that sort of thing, perhaps Phil and Gordon can develop a form and then email it out to all of you to use as consistent matrix.
does that seem okay to the other committee members? Can we do that?
I'll second that.
Yeah.
We're in consensus there?
Yeah.
Okay.
It'd be lovely if it were,
In an Excel spreadsheet?
yeah, so when you plug in a number, it
Yeah.
computes the
it
score and,
computes it,
yeah, staff doesn't have to go back and do all that.
Gordon, can that be done, put it in like an Excel spreadsheet?
It's not essential, staff can compile it.
I would think so.
Okay,
It's easy to do.
okay, Bill?
Yeah.
Good, all right,
I'll get together with
terrific.
Soon.
And,
Maybe like
and so
Thursday.
we will all take these home with us? Can we take these home? Okay, so we'll all take these home and start our review, and then maybe we can get that,
Can we get a copy of the RFP, because we need to
yes.
know what,
Should I go over to the office? I can go make a copy of it right now.
I just called Teresa, and that's it.
That'd be
She's
lovely.
not here.
She's not here.
No.
Brett may still be here, but I don't know, we could,
Or if it could just get
Or I-
emailed out tonight.
if you don't mind taking minutes,
Yeah.
I'll do it.
Good, okay, good, because, and it's not a very long RFP.
I think it's only 8 pages.
Yeah, it's, you know, pretty succinct, it's good. Okay, so, so we're all gonna do this, and then we'll, you know, bring it back. Can we, after we do our analysis, can we just shoot it back to Gordon?
Yeah, shoot it all back to Gordon. Gordon will not then send it out to everybody, so everybody sees everything. You gotta do that at public.
do we want to set a
And
date for us to
let's-
return?
You read my mind, Ms. Fisher, so when we should set a date, you know, so you can't dilly-dally here.
How about Monday, so it gives us the weekend? So,
Okay.
Monday?
yeah, I mean, I don't wanna be too quick, but I know Liz just wants to do it fast, but
No, I
when's
don't,
our next meeting is the
that
big
was a
question.
test to
Let's do
you
this right.
guys. I thought, you know,
Let's do this right.
Because they still have to do the,
the matrix.
Thursday.
yeah.
How about
Let's be
Next-
reasonable.
next Thursday, did you think?
No, we're gonna meet, I'll try to meet with Gordon to rate this thing on Thursday.
Oh, on Thursday.
Well, how often are we meeting?
Well,
That's-
that's,
Can we
we've
go to
got
that
that
part
on
of
the
the
agenda.
agenda?
We need
Because
to
that'll
figure it out.
drive when you want these
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, because it's,
Why don't we hold this until we decide
okay,
when our
our next
meeting's
day,
gonna be?
okay, all right.
Can I ask a
So,
couple more questions about the RFP?
absolutely.
There seems to be some controversy about the size of the library. So what are they working on in terms of, are they working on this sort of the dream number of 11 or 12,000 square feet, or on the current size, or something in between, in terms of trying to determine what the last.
Isn't that part of the discussion on this ad hoc
Right.
committee that should be looking into
Not
the
sure.
library issues?
Right, so
Size, shape,
the,
Yeah.
yeah.
what's
The
needed in
next,
it?
the next item is our need for ad hoc committees.
Mhm.
And so one of the things that I've always thought that our group here, our large group, is that we could break into some ad hoc committees that would then work with specific staff. Like the people who have a passion for libraries would then work with Tom and as the library staff to then go out to the public and, you know, kind of research the libraries of the future, you know, what type of library do we really want, how big, how small, and using the historical documents that we've got. However, the needs assessment that was done back in 2009 by the county for the library needs assessment, that is no longer valid, I believe, because it, personally, but that would be something that would be good with, you know, the library staff.
So we didn't put the library in the park. That committee did a lot of work, and I think it'd be worthwhile looking at some of the work as far as size and the needs. I mean, at one point, the council did agree that the library, at that time, if it went in the park, would be no larger than 10,000 square feet. Now, that doesn't mean we're stuck with that, but I'm saying there's a lot of work went on there as to the size of a library, which, some of which I think could apply.
For instance, Portola Valley just recently built a new library, And from the county wanted them to build a very large library. They said, no, for our small community of our size, 6,400. And so they're very happy with that size of 6,400 square feet of their library facility. Now, supposedly our existing library is like 4,700, but that's including the upstairs and a lot of,
Which is not really used.
it's terrible. So what's the real size of library do we need? The library of the future. So the need for an ad hoc committee to be formed, and the responsibility of that ad hoc committee would be doing a lot of legwork, then in between our meeting dates.
Do we have resources? Like, can we hire somebody, or like, are the people just supposed to be smart enough to know how big a library is supposed to be? Like, what do we have, what can we use?
The committee hasn't been provided with any financial resources. However, if there is something the committee needs, the ad hoc committee comes back and says we would like to engage, a consultant to assist us with this particular task. The committee then makes a recommendation to council.
The council,
says,
okay.
Yeah. no
We
problem.
want to do a survey of all the libraries on the peninsula and how big they are, and
Well, I think that's.
Well, you may have that.
That's already.
I mean,
Maybe
the
that.
library committee did a lot of work, so that could be included in that
I'd
data.
just like to point out that we're different from Watola Valley, because our library has to serve just, not Atherton residents, but also residents in other communities, including some in East Palo Alto. So, or in the unincorporated areas. And that work is all been done and previously, so it would be good if we looked at it.
But I think it's important to, I'm not sure, I think they did some good research, but I think we need to look more aggressively into the library of the future. I'm not sure that we really looked into the digital age aspect of the library, and that's going to really dictate the size of it as well. So, an option sometimes with, once an architect's selected, sometimes the architects hire a consultant, if they know that they're tasked with doing the library, they'll get a consultant for the police department, because that's a specialty as well. So, for us to hire an independent consultant, that's one way, but we need to look at all the aspects of, all the options at this point.
the fact that the vote was against the library in the park, does that mean de facto the library's at the town center? For
Yes.
example, if,
There's no other place.
well, there's one,
Oh,
that darn building out there in El Camino that's
Oh,
still
that's building
unoccupied.
sold.
I heard it's sold, but nobody's moved in. Like, Mark,
it's not.
Mark listed that thing forever. No, that's just a non-starter, don't go there, don't open our minds, it's here,
They're working
it's
on it.
going here, okay.
But I would say again, that in the library, the previous library in the park, they did hire an expert library woman, I forget her name now, who did a lot of work. And, it's would be a shame to throw that away.
Well, I don't think anybody's asking to throw it away. I
No.
think it needs to be consulted, but I also think that part of the rejection of the library at the park was its size. It was not just the location. So I would hope that, the traffic impact with a bigger size was concerning local residents.
And driving through a residential neighborhood.
So, I think that that information needs to be used by the ad hoc committee, and then, without spending a lot more money, I think we've spent a lot of money on stuff that maybe is not gonna be useful. Stanford University is nearby. They've built a new library. The two private schools in town have built and expanded their libraries. There are things we can go look at without spending any money, and having a small group of people evaluate that stuff. It's gonna be work, but
So,
you gotta do it.
So we need an
let's,
ad hoc
yeah,
library
let's
committee, we
bring
know
it
that.
Absolutely.
back. And so,
What else?
essentially, we have, how many departments are we talking about? We have our police, we have our administration, we have our library, we have our building, okay? And
Public Works.
Public Works, building Public Works. So if we, with this group, got volunteers who wanted to be on certain tasks as ad hoc committee members, can we just kind of assign those committees today? so that then, those would be ad hoc committees that you would then work with, say, the chief of police to help define, police services. And part of it is also in number 8, the public outreach process. One of the things that this committee has to do is make sure that we get public information out there, information out to the public, and get input back from the public, because we don't want to make these decisions in a vacuum. We want to make sure that the public is engaged. I think that was really said loudly and clearly in the last year with the elections and everything. So, how does that sound to anybody? Everybody?
So it sounds like you're proposing that we have an ad hoc committee for each of the distinct areas that will have buildings, which I think we need to go into as to whether we need all of that, and an ad hoc committee for public outreach to talk about and bring ideas to the big committee about how we would do that. Is that correct?
Sure, yeah.
Okay.
I didn't hear, I'm not sure Elizabeth said you need one for each department, because that's kind of overwhelmed
Yeah.
staff.
Yeah.
To have all these
So
different
I'm just
committees
trying to
go
push
on.
that to see
Yeah.
what we think. Now, what ad hoc committees do we want relative? A library one sounds like isn't really
Certainly
necessary.
library, public outreach, admin and police, I mean, that's to me is kind of all the same. It's all the same building, it's all the same
Yeah, sorry.
spaces, building, admin. So, you have 3 that are really serious, library, admin, police, and public outreach.
I'm not sure that you need to re-question the square footage yet. We've done it.
Right.
It's been done. The Blue Ribbon did it, the Town Center for Task Force did it, NMR did it. I would postpone that until you've selected architects,
Okay.
because needs may change, and they may just update it one more time. It'd be one more way to slow down this committee on picking the site, I don't know that you need to do that again, yet.
I would say that Ed Flynn, our police chief, has had a lot of experience in building, and knows a lot about it, so we're going to appoint a head of an ad hoc committee for the police administration. He would certainly be my selection, because he's done a lot of work and he knows a lot.
Well, see, my thought is if we had 2 or 3 of our committee members to meet and work with our chief of police to get his input as to how, the police department should run, should be designed, then they could be brought back to the committee and disseminated with the master plan process.
Elizabeth, I think that ad hoc committees that come to mind for me are library,
Okay?
process,
Mm-hmm.
a group to come back with, explaining to this group, what do we understand our mandate to be? What is our role? And what is the process we might follow to do it? And then a group to report back on after we all fill out the matrix and send it in. And somebody's got to go through that and compile the information, and then, yeah, but are we gonna have, it could be staff, they could just say, here's the score. But at some point, there's gonna be a memo going to council,
But we're going to
that someone's gonna write the, what's that?
You're going to interview
Yeah.
before you do that.
Yeah, so someone's gonna set up interview questions, so you're gonna want an ad hoc committee that walks us through this selection process,
Okay,
which is, send us your comments by this day, we're gonna compile it, you can compile it, but we're gonna recommend an interview process and questions for the interview, and then we can talk about it at the next meeting, and then we're gonna write the memo to council, everybody can review it. You're gonna need that, there's a group that's gonna wanna take that forward to get to the council recommendation.
And I think that the things that we have to do first, the library. Hopefully you all will send us back, get to work on the library issuance after your next meeting. And the public outreach, somebody needs to start thinking about ideas, different ways of doing it, and hope that somebody will become engaged.
so,
And then the process question.
Yeah.
I think we're too early on, we don't even have a master plan to really delve into what is it that the police department actually needs to look like. Unless you think you want people to start working on what is it we need inside it.
We've got so much data.
I agree with Steve.
I don't think
I
we're
think
there
it's
yet.
too early. I
Yeah,
think we should let's make a decision on this first, and then we can set up all the various ad hoc committees that we need, because, I mean, this is the most important thing that we've got to do at the moment, I think.
Well, that plus the process of getting through it.
Yeah,
And that last time took us a lot of time. We had a lot of
And then
ad
the
hoc
only-
to get there.
the other one that may or may not be in a hurry is the library square footage, because if they want us to report in July, that's quick to get a committee together, and if they need anything, it would work. But if there's more time, then it's not in a hurry.
Sure.
There's a couple of suggestions on committees, well, we're talking ad hoc committees. So I thought one committee that might be useful would be, excuse me, allergies. A committee that would look into other town centers in Northern California that we think we could learn from in terms of how they relate to the community, how the community was involved in the development, budgets, appearance, feedback, what they would do differently. You know, obviously we've talked about Portola Valley. I think Woodside's town center, there's something to be learned there, that they have a historic building they had to reuse. Yountville is another one that one of the architects was involved in. So there's a number of, anyway, that's one
Yeah.
thought that I had on that ad hoc committee. And then in terms of existing facilities, I think as we get into the master plan, the question of what do we do with the existing facilities is going to be a recurring question. And you know, do we seismically retrofit this building, or is it better? Is it undersized? And what are the issues around this building? I think the existing library building is another factor. And what if we determine, for instance, that the existing library building is of no use to the town centre? Is there a possibility to consider disposing of that? Same thing would go for Reading Park. Do we incorporate Reading Park? You know, it's a little lot-sized piece of property that sort of has gone to waste. Is that included within the town centre plan? Currently it is, it's shown, but is there an opportunity to just sell that off? And that then starts to generate funds for this new centre, along with the library building. You know, there's some money involved in potential income. So I think there's some issues, and then when you incorporate the factor that George brought up around Station Lane, that's another reuse or dispose of question. So I think maybe the question of what do we do with existing facilities is sufficiently important to the master plan that people developing the master plan are going to need direction from us as to what the options are that we want them to pursue.
So the way I see the ad hoc committees working along what you're suggesting is that an ad hoc committee would be formed to go out and develop these scenarios, you know, proposals, ideas, recommendations, bring it back to the committee to, you know, then it's just like a business plan. You bring it back to the committee would then look at it and evaluate it and say, I like that, or I don't like that, and, you know, together, then we make recommendation to council. You know, as a committee ourselves, we can't make, you know, hard and fast decisions, but what we can do is synthesize information, and that's our role. We synthesize information to then be evaluated by the committee for recommendation to council. And hopefully we do that, not in a vacuum, but with public input and understanding, you know, who our target audience is. It's the residents of Atherton. You know, who's going to use it, how they're going to benefit by it, and what we can do to make their lives more enriched because of it. So that's kind of how I perceive us working together, because as a body here, we're big, and it's hard to, you know, and there's so many variables out there, so many ideas. So if we can break it down into smaller pieces and go off and do this research, come back and then present, I think that we'd just get a lot more done. We'd just get a lot more done. So I think the general consensus is that we need ad hoc committee to research library information, that was a hot button, how big and everything. I don't think we need council direction to do that.
To determine the size of the library?
We are just as information gathering.
No, no.
Do we?
But, no, you don't. But if, within the master plan, if you send off the consultant with, we only want a library of 4,000 square feet or 6,000 square feet, that needs kind of council blessing before
Right,
they go off and do that.
but we're an investigative body.
But if we want money, we have to go to council.
We're an advisory board. We can ask the council, we can make recommendations to the council, and then it's up to the council to
Right.
make a decision.
But we have to know how to advise the council, so we need to, you know,
But I think the master plan should not worry too much about existing buildings. I think they come up with a master plan, the best master plan, and then, if it happens that the master plan means a building needs to be demolished or whatever, that's fine. But meanwhile, I think we want to come up with the best master plan we can, irrespective of the present building.
go ahead, George.
Perhaps I could make a suggestion. It sounds like there's agreement that the master plan consultant in review of the submittals is one of the priorities of this committee moving forward from here. So perhaps you establish at least that committee this evening to work with staff as they go through these RFPs and work with the matrix that comes back at the next meeting, and develops those a little further to come back with a recommendation to this committee. But tonight, establish a committee and identify what you want that committee to do, and then go from there.
So let's take that and accomplish that. Consensus-wise, we're all gonna read all 5 of them. We're going to have Phil work with Gordon to give us a matrix to fill out. We're going to feed all of our summaries to Gordon, and then he is going to disseminate it. We want an ad hoc committee then to meet with Gordon, to review those, and then come up with the top 3 to bring back to the committee for interview process.
And we may have, and that group may have a report. It may have, like,
Okay.
here's what we heard from.
Does that seem right? And would that 3, say the ad hoc committee with Gordon, the 3 members, do the interviewing, or do we all want to do the interviewing?